Well, greetings, everyone, and welcome to a very special online event today. It's called Activating the Power of Applied Somatic Healing. Access radical acceptance and well-being for yourself and others. My name is Stephen Dyna. I'm the founder and president of the Shift Network, and I'm delighted to be here today because we're going to get to explore the leading edge of healing, of transformation, particularly in a somatic way with one of the world's pioneers in this arena. His name is Brian Siddhartha Ingle. He's an NDDO, co-founder of Living Somatics, naturopath, and registered doctor of osteopathy with AHPRA. Amazing background and credentials. And I think what I've always been impressed with Brian is just the ability to synthesize a vast amount of knowledge from different healing lineages and apply it in a very integrated, holistic way that is embodied, that is soulful, and is wise. So Brian, thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thank you, Stephen. It's always a pleasure to be with you and the Shift Network.
Great. And I also want to say right up front that we're here today to learn, but also to really learn about an opportunity that's very unique, the first ever Applied Somatic Healing Certification Program that Brian is going to be leading. This is going to be a full year-long program all about mastering somatic movement with quantum biology, osteopathy, and somatic psychology, really frontier level work, thinking, and practice that can have a big impact in people's lives and the lives of their clients. So we're going to talk, spend a good chunk of the hour talking about that, as well as some of the foundational underpinnings of the applied somatic movement work. So, Brian, I would love to begin our hour together with a little bit about your journey and like this synthesizing of different wisdom traditions and healing lineages, and really how that came together for you, leading to the applied somatic healing philosophy and practice.
Well, Stephen, it all happened quite young for me. My father was quite sick. He was actually a schizophrenic. And I remember visiting him in psychiatric units, and he was on heavy medication and electric shock therapy. And the medication that he was on really changed him and took his personality completely away. And I felt intuitively as a child that something wasn't right here, something wasn't working. And that led me into studying osteopathy and naturopathy. In fact, I worked in Ayurvedic medicine before that, which has the same principles as naturopathy. And then I went down this somatic movement route for many years, which I'm still involved in. But quite recently, in the last 5 years, many of my friends and colleagues were sort of getting these chronic illnesses, and it just didn't make sense to me. And then the main teachers in these traditions that I worked with passed away, like 4 or 5 of them. In fact, a big yoga teacher that I studied with in my 20s, he had a massive heart attack at the age of 53. So I started to think that something isn't really right here in terms of this holistic perspective. People are specializing in one aspect, whether it be yoga asana or somatic movement or the health in the biodynamic osteopathic concept or nutrition, and they're not bringing it all together as one cohesive whole, and they're not really getting into the root cause of why these disease processes happen and how can we actually achieve longevity and health with longevity. So I started thinking about this deeply because of these experiences I've had with my friends, my colleagues, my family getting sick, and my teachers passing away. And I went down to really a rabbit hole to understand the science behind all of that. And that's what motivated me to put this together. So that's sort of the background and how I got where I am today.
Well, thank you for taking that journey. And I really think that that's part of the moment we're in as a planet, with having so many different lineages that are emergent, and then we can synthesize the best of what truly works. And so why don't you lay a bit of the foundation of what the deeper understanding of the causality of disease and disease processes, and how we can sort of reorient our healing work to rest on those foundations so that we can really be vibrant expressions of health rather than just treating disease?
Yeah, great question. So where I landed was this formula for self-healing, or a map for self-healing, and that involves many different components. And actually on this certificate training that I'll be teaching will be working with each of these components and coaching people to go to work with it and bring it into their lives. So the first element that I speak of is time, and the importance that healing takes time, and to actually trust in the process as that time is going through, rather than trying to get out of it or change it, just to relax into it, even though it's slightly uncomfortable. So this confidence that healing happens, and healing always happens, even in the presence of disease, and it takes time, and to rest into that time and not try to sort of get into a quick fix or just sort of suppressing the symptoms, but really going through the healing that takes place through time. So that's the first thing. And the other thing that I teach, of course, is embodiment. And what that means really is how we use ourselves in relation to movement, how we feel ourselves from the inside. And also I relate to the vestibular system in terms of where the horizon is, what's above us, what's behind us, what's in front of us, where we are in relation to our space. And of course, how we relate to others too is very important. And the other aspect is epigenetics, which refers to really the environmental effect that turns on our genes. So it's not really the genes that you're born with, it's really the environment that you live in that will enable those genes to turn on in the right way. And the epigenetic stuff is really very, very simple, even though the quantum biology around that is quite complex. And I don't know if you're familiar with the riddle of the Sphinx. And so the riddle of the Sphinx asks the question, what is it that has one voice, in the morning has 4 legs, in the afternoon has 2 legs, and the evening has 3 legs? And the answer, of course, is man, because when we're born, we crawl on 4 legs, and then we, in our midlife, we're walking on 2 legs, and then we end up with a cane. And really is about this, what Tom Hanna referred to as the myth of aging. But the Sphinx is actually giving the answer to this through the epigenetic way, through the environment. What is the Sphinx doing? He's got the pyramid behind him. He's got his feet and hands on the ground, and he's facing east. He's facing the rising sun. So it's a lot about light. It's a lot about magnetism, and it's a lot about water. So I'm going to go on a deep dive into quantum biology and circadian biology, because I believe this is a really key component in the formula for self-healing. And the Sphinx was giving us the answer to that, standing there, giving us that face east with your feet on the ground, look at the rising sun. The next element is taken from the osteopathic philosophy or treatment approach, which really is for healing to take place, we have to find the neutral. And what the neutral refers to is where we're stepping back into this place of deep rest and deep safety. And what that is the parasympathetic nervous system, rest and digest and safety. So healing and learning, in fact, only takes place there in this place of deep rest, which we call the neutral. And then even taking that a little bit further, and we talk about the stillness or the still point. So in an osteopathic biodynamic cranial treatment, we'll wait for a neutral to emerge, the settling down of the system, and then we will see if this still point will arise and the potency of the health can come out of the still point. So I bring all of this into the somatic embodied way of working, where, you know, with the embodiment piece, we teach movements to sort of improve our embodiment capacity. We'll sort of go through the sort of quantum biology and lifestyle sort of stuff to improve our circadian biology, etc. And through guided meditations and somatic movement, bring into this sort of stillness and to this neutral, so that the health can really show itself and the healing can happen. So then, of course, we have the appropriate movement, which really, for sometimes there should be no movement, especially when it's an acute phase of a disease or illness. But the whole idea is that movement is really to do with life. And the more movement we have, the more, like children, they move a lot and they've got so much life. And people who don't move that much don't have so much life. So a big part of this formula and also the training is how to educate people around movement, and specifically somatic movement in tradition of Thomas Hanna and the Feldenkrais tradition. So appropriate movement is a big part of this. And also the listening touch. Now, you might ask me, well, How can you teach listening touch if you're not with your patient, or you're not with your client and it's happening online, or you're not learning these hands-on osteopathic techniques? Well, what I've found is that, we can actually learn to treat ourselves. We can touch ourselves in certain ways and listen to the health in the system and allow that to show itself. So in the somatic tradition, where we become self-autonomous and we're not relying on somebody else to do the work, but more the somatic educator is indeed an educator and not a therapist or something doing something, but creating conditions for healing to take place. So part of the training, in fact, will be teaching the students for themselves how to hold space for themselves and touch themselves in certain body parts and allow the craniosacral rhythm to show itself and the biodynamic rhythms to show itself and be involved in that, and to move in certain ways for that to show itself too, and very specific points around the cranium and the face and the fingers and so forth that I've been developing and working with, that I use before sleep, and that brings us into a very, very deep place of sleep. So I'm pretty excited about this new development in terms of self-osteopathic treatment that I can teach others to do, and then from those others to teach others again.
So it sounds like when you talk about the craniosacral rhythm showing itself, so it's like there's this I want to highlight or bring forward a little bit there's this underpinning philosophy, there's an intelligence that you've got sort of very specific ways to sort of create pathways for it to express. So I'd love for you to share just a little bit more about that.
Well, as I said, before that can show itself, we have to find the neutral. There's no way that the health, and that's what it is. The craniosacral rhythm and the expression of the health comes from the neutral, and it also comes from this place of stillness. So we have to establish that place too. And I also believe that the more embodied we are, the more potential we have for that rhythm to show itself. And the more we are like the Sphinx and we're in touch with nature and natural's laws, the more the health can show itself. Because we are humans, but we're also animals, and the laws of nature apply to us just like it does to any other animal. The problem with us is that we're spending all our time inside, and the animals are outside with their feet on the earth and in the sunlight and so forth, and their circadian rhythms largely is right on. So getting these elements together will enable the health to show itself, and these rhythms to have more potency and to do what they're designed to do, which is create balance and healing.
Yeah, I'd love for you to dive a little bit more into that, the nature of the light cycles and the circadian rhythms and how that's sort of resetting our whole biology in synchronization with the planet.
Oh, it's essential. It's essential. In fact, that yoga teacher that I referred to that died of a massive heart attack, he used to get up at 1 o'clock in the morning and teach this yoga. And I'm convinced that his circadian rhythms were completely out, and that's the reason why. Well, it's one of the main reasons why he had that heart attack. So the light and the earth and when we eat really affects our circadian rhythms, and the eye is a camera and it's a clock. So the light hitting our eyes, it sets the suprachiasmatic nucleus, which then gives the information to all the other cells to set themselves in relation to the light, and knowing when to turn on different aspects of our biology in relation to our environment. And when that is tuned in the right way, what happens is that we wake up fresh before the sun comes up, and then we're with the sun. And when we're in the night, we're in the dark, and we don't have this artificial light and non-native electromagnetic fields and so forth. And by the time we get to 10 o'clock or 9:30, we go into this deep sleep, and those 2 hours before midnight is so essential. So when you get the circadian rhythm sorted out, and you get the light and dark thing balanced, and you get the sleep sorted out, you're really in the money there for happiness, for mental clarity, for deep health, because there's so much happens during this sleep phase in terms of cleanup that we're missing out on. And otherwise, we're going to end up with this sort of like chronic disease later on. So the environment and the light and dark cycle is so important, essential.
How does all of this work apply in working with clients? Since I know a lot of the focus with your with your certification program is going to be with people who are working in some form of healing capacity. So how do you start to apply these principles to working with others?
Well, you know, in osteopathic medicine, I mean, let's say classical osteopathic medicine, because I believe that osteopathy has lost its way. It's sort of become this thing in, especially outside the United States, where it's just sort of sexy physiotherapists. We sort of just treat pain and sort of like orthopedic sort of stuff and sort of like a sexy physiotherapist. But that's never really what osteopathy was about. It was a much more holistic approach. And there's one thing to answer your question that I'll bring in here. It's called the key lesion. And the key lesion refers to what is the core issue here that's causing the problem or the health problem. And the key lesion could be physical. It could be a physical problem. It could be emotional. It could be energetic in relation to the quantum biology stuff that I was talking about, or it could be spiritual. So the osteopath has to hunt for the lesion and figure out what is the cause here, whether it be physical, whether it be energetic, whether it be emotional, psychological, or it be spiritual. So part of the training that I'm going to do is going to teach people how to, hunt for the lesion and work with these different aspects in terms of somatic psychology, in terms of movement in relation to the physical problem, or whether it be the root cause, the conflict psychologically, or is it just that they haven't got a belief in a higher purpose? Because that's largely what's lacking in our Western modern society. We've sort of given it over to science and we've lost the reverence to something that's higher to us. So if that's not present in somebody's life, they don't feel this higher purpose or this higher calling, then that can be problematic, and that might be their problem. So in this course, I'm going to be, training my students how to find the key lesion, how to work with the formula for self-healing, how to teach these somatic movement lessons, how to work with somatic psychology, and so forth. We'll get into it a little bit later in our conversation.
Great. So I think it might be good time now to do a little bit of an experiential practice too, and then we can reflect on that and some of what people can harvest from that.
Sure. So let's shift from that sort of thinking about what I just said into our felt sense of our physicality in relation to our environment, and let things settle down and just be with the breath for a moment. One of the key aspects of the work that I teach is forgiveness, actually, and also a deep acceptance of ourselves, and somehow moving away from the self-critique to one of generous, open-hearted love in our own self-image, in our own physicality. And we often take our physicality for granted. So the practice that I'd like to share with you is a Ho'oponopono practice for ourselves, for our physical body. So you can do this lying down, or you can do this sitting. And we'll just spend, again, a moment shifting to the neutral. Shifting to allow perhaps a still point to emerge. Getting a sense of your whole self, the three-dimensional you. And include the bioelectric field. And let's start with our feet and our ankles. Just get a sense of your feet and your ankles. Some appreciation for how the feet have carried you, moved you. And then say these words inwardly, or let me be your voice. Thank you. I love you. I'm sorry. Forgive me. Thank you. I love you. I'm sorry. Forgive me. And get a sense of how your ankles and feet receive those words. And then move up to where your thighs meet your lower leg, your knees. Get a sense of your right and your left knee. Get a sense of how you've used your knees to give you the sense of performance and achievements in the world, and how grateful you are for your knees and how they've supported you. And again, thank you. I'm sorry. Forgive me. I love you. Thank you. I'm sorry. Forgive me. I love you. And get a sense of how your knees receive that, where perhaps you've just taken them for granted and they've served you so well. And do the knees have anything to say back to you? Perhaps they're grateful to be seen. And then move up to the hip joints, the left and right, with appreciation. How the hips, the knees and the feet have carried you in your life. You've walked, you've stood, you've run. You've been able to use your lower body to move around to achieve all your goals. Thank you. I'm sorry. Forgive me. I love you. Thank you. I'm sorry. Forgive me. I love you. See how your hip joints receive that. And then move to your whole spine, where the lower back all the way up to the head, the midline. This is where the still point emerges from. Is there a still point emerging for you through your front of your spine, your midline, to now enable you to be upright in life, your center point, your somatic center? Get a sense of the whole spine as one unit and how everything is organized around that, your two legs and your arms. And again, with appreciation, thank you. I'm sorry. Forgive me. I love you. Thank you. I'm sorry. Forgive me. I love you. And see how the spine receives that. Perhaps the spine hasn't been seen in this way or appreciated in this way before. What does the spine have to say to you? Does it appreciate being seen in this way? Then get a sense of your right and left shoulder, where you use these shoulders to embrace the ones you love, to push away what you don't want, and how it's been so effective in gathering things in your life, holding your beloved to your shoulders. Thank you. I'm sorry. Forgive me. I love you. Thank you. I'm sorry. Forgive me. I love you. And how do the shoulders like to be seen in this way? And then bring yourself to your elbows and your wrists and hands and connect the whole arm and how you use your arms to do and hands to do detailed work, to play a musical instrument, to pick fruit, to shake somebody's hand, to cook. How your arms and hands have served you so well in your life. Each finger with its own particular function. Thank you. I'm sorry. Forgive me. I love you. Thank you. I'm sorry. Forgive me. I love you. And see how your whole arms and hands respond to this. How'd you like to be seen in this way? And then come back to the spine, the midline, and get a sense of how the arms and the legs are just extensions of the midline, your spine. Come back to wholeness. And then come into the space around your body, the bioelectric field, and get a sense of you've shifted deeply into this neutral and perhaps into the still point. And then we can ask the question, the osteopathic mantra at the end of the out-breath. Where's the health? And let the system show you, not a thought. Let the body experience show you where the health is. And let the health course and move through you to include the bioelectric field, the felt sense of being alive. How do you know that you're alive? The felt sense of being alive. That is the health. Allow the health to show itself. Allow it to move into the bioelectric field. Let that continue working through you as we continue with our talk with Stephen.
Well, thank you for that. And I can really feel like a rewiring of relationship with my body. Even just that being in a kind of reciprocal relationship of respect and gratitude for different parts of the body and how they've fulfilled their function. That's really quite beautiful.
Thank you. I enjoy it so much. It really brings me home to a very much more centered and settled place where the health can really show itself. And it feels like the system is very appreciative of being appreciated.
Mm-hmm.
So self-love.
Yeah. So it sounds like there's just like a deep foundation of accepting like your body first as it is, and that there's sort of a natural calling forth of this deeper current of health that is that's underpinning that.
Yes, the same inherent forces that grew and developed us when we were in the womb and organized us are the same forces that now heal us. And that's what we call the health in the osteopathic tradition. And that's part of the formula of self-healing too, the health. And in fact, another part of the formula of self-healing is disease, because the disease process is part of the healing process. And to really accept that, the body is going through a healing crisis. It knows exactly what it's doing. It makes no mistakes. And to have that trust, to shift the mindset into the health is always present and the disease process is part of the health showing itself in terms of healing. Often we just want to get rid of the symptoms around disease, but if we could just understand that the body makes no mistakes, and if we can trust in that process and allow that to happen through time and allowing the health to move through us, then we can go through the healing in a way where it completes and it's not hanging around, where it keeps repeating itself and repeating itself, where we end up with some chronic disease. So if you allow that to complete in its own time, then that's the way we prevent it. In fact, you might have heard of Plato's idea of two types of medicine, one for the free, who treats the psyche, and then the one for the not free person, they're actually slaves, and they treat the symptoms so that the slave can go back to work. This is 2,500 years ago. So the work that I'm doing really is bringing back Plato's medicine for the free and treating the soul or the psyche and the cause and allowing healing to take place in its own good time, which takes time. There's no really magic bullet to suppress symptoms, because that's not going to allow the healing process to happen in the right way, so we don't end up in some chronic disease situation. So that's a deep part of my philosophical approach, that the disease is part of the healing process, and to give time to that and trust to that.
You have a beautiful way of just rewiring a lot of our perspective on things that instead of seeing disease as the problem to be fixed, it's sort of like it's part of the solution. That's really, it's quite a beautiful, beautiful perspective. Well, Brian, it's really clear that you just have such a deep level of mastery of so many domains that really creates a holistic paradigm for healing and teaching a lot of other people how to do that with their clients and with themselves. So let's talk
Yes.
explicitly about your upcoming certification. And I'll say
Yes.
a little bit of context first is like what we're looking for at Shift is like really how to take things to the next level in any field. And so when we invited Brian to design a certification program, it was really with a sense of respect for Brian really being at the forefront of these disciplines and creating a synthesis that is more powerful than anything we've seen. And it really is an opportunity to evolve healing skills and practices to the next level by undertaking a longer apprenticeship with him. So this is a full year-long program. It's called Applied Somatic Healing Certification, Mastering Somatic Movement with Quantum Biology, Osteopathy, and Somatic Psychology. It is, I really believe, the state of the art, and that Brian is a master and that he has really done his homework. He's done the practices. He's really studied and synthesized. And so you're getting the benefit of the harvest of decades of study and practice that you can apply in your own life and with clients as well. So, Brian, I'd love for you to, first of all, share on a high level what your aims are for people to come away from this program, and then let's talk a little bit more about the details and what's involved.
Well, there's two things that are going to happen on looking at the big picture. I would see a big transformation happen for the student who's on the course for them individually, where a big part of my plan is to shift the thinking, this thing that you mentioned before. Usually we think disease, something to get rid of, but to really embody, this is part of the healing process. So a lot of these sort of concepts that we have to sort of change that and land in a place that is probably closer to nature's laws. So for that shift to happen, that's part of the education. And with that, there'll be transformation happening within our own bodies, and finding the health in our own system, and finding the root cause of our health issues, whether it be whether it be psychological or through the environment, etc. So that's sort of my big picture, to enable people to transform themselves and then have the tools to coach and teach others to do the same. So let's talk about the first unit. So the first unit is really about sorting out your own system and arriving in your own body and building self-connection. And it's understanding the somatic principles and strategies around somatic movement. And in each of these, the 7 classes to each unit, we'll go through a somatic movement lesson, and we'll really unravel your own, what we call sensory motor amnesia, and we'll take you more towards somatic literacy, meaning that you'll be able to use your body in an efficient, effective way. And when you're at rest, you are fully at rest. So the first part is more focused towards yourself, your own system, regulating your own system, and coming into this place of ease, unwinding the sensory motor amnesia, and learning the strategies and principles, and coming into this idea of the myth of aging, and how as we grow older, we can actually improve. So we'll be grounded in that. That'll be unit number 1.
Great. Unit number 2 is called Applied Quantum Biology.
Yes, this is the Sphinx. When you think about, it sounds like, whoa, that sounds a little bit heavy, but really what you got to do is think about the Sphinx. And the Sphinx has got its feet on the ground and its hands on the ground, and it's looking at the sun. So this unit is very much about applying the principles of quantum biology, which goes into light and the whole full spectrum of light, and how that is so important. So the academic part is important, but the experiential benefits are more important. A hippopotamus does not know anything about quantum biology, but it's lying out there in the earth, in the sun, and it gets too hot, it goes into the shade. So it's not that you have to believe everything that I'm saying. In fact, you shouldn't believe everything I'm saying. You should take the information, apply it to yourself, see the benefits that are coming for you, get ignited by it, and then go deeper into it and get more benefits and get more health and more ease and more happiness. And I have to say that the quantum biology piece is a big piece in addressing the anxiety and the ill mental health that's going on that seems so prevalent in the world today. And this very much addresses that by working with the light, working with the light and dark cycle, working with the Schumann's resonance, the electromagnetic field of the earth, and understanding the importance of water, understanding the function of mitochondria, understanding melatonin, and so many aspects in this part, which is really, really important, which include cold thermogenesis and how that works, and also the body electric and the current of injury, Robert O. Becker's work. It's a very detailed module, and how can we learn about quantum biology for ourselves, apply it to ourselves, get the benefits, feel this massive transformation that will take place for us, and then feel so inspired that we want to share that with others and coach others.
Fascinating. So Unit 3 then goes into leading others, learning to teach somatic movement lessons.
Yes. So a big part of this training is that you will come out with the ability to teach group lessons and individual lessons for their individual pattern, which will be a further unit. But this unit is very much learning how to teach the group lessons. And of course, there'll be 7 new movement lessons in this unit. And we'll get more into the pedagogy of teaching somatic lessons. And we'll address deeper sensory motor amnesia and how that works. We'll cultivate more somatic literacy. And we'll also understand pandiculation, which is this sort of wake-up stretch that all animals and children do, that Tom Hanna described, in how we reset our nervous system and our musculoskeletal system by doing this wake-up stretch. So the clinical application of this wake-up stretch is called pandiculation. We'll go into some anatomy around the hips and the shoulders, because we're going to be doing lessons on that. And there will be a lot of anatomy on this training, but it'll be very much embodied. It'll be from your own first-person experience. So you'll learn it in a way that you get to know yourself from your own movements, from your own inquiry. And not that you have to learn a whole lot of names of muscles and origins, insertions, and then just forget it because it's not meaningful to you. Everything that I want to teach is where it's like, it's embodied, it's a first-person experience, where it's this pleasure and this joy in doing it.
So Unit 4 then, osteopathic principles and philosophy, applied osteopathy from an embodied perspective.
Yes, so this is going to go into the classical osteopathic thinking and the roots of osteopathy and what Andrew Taylor still was about. And of course, my special interest here is the biodynamic cranial osteopathy and how to apply that for ourselves and teach others to do the same. And I mentioned before about how we can do these self-holds to enable these rhythms to show itself in different points on our body, on our face, and our skull. So I'm quite excited about that point. And also we'll be looking at the structural aspect of it too, because there's the key lesion. We deal with the physical body as well, and the structural part is the main thing. Actually, with the structural part are the junction points of the spine. So there'll be a specific lecture on the junction points and how to release those junction points, where the head meets the neck, where the neck meets the upper back, where the upper back meets the lower back, where the lower back meets the sacrum, and the left and the right sacroiliac joint. We'll also look at the autonomic nervous system, which are the nerves that come out of the spine and supply the organs, and also supply the hands and the legs and so forth. So we'll go into the anatomy around that and a way to unravel the autonomic nervous system through awareness movement lessons. So how can we do a self-treatment without some osteopath touching you, where you can do it through your own interoception, through your own movement, and into your own inquiry. So this is my goal, as to how can we take the principles and techniques of osteopathy, and enable the student to do it for themselves, to be educated to do it for themselves without the need of an osteopath in the room, which is good in one respect because there's not going to be the possibility of a treatment reaction unless you're going to move yourself too much. Because sometimes, physical therapy, it can be a little bit imposing, but you're now sensing from the inside what's appropriate from you, and you're self-regulating your system. So in this one too, we'll get into the key lesion and the applications for the formula for self-healing from an osteopathic perspective. There's a lot more than that, but that's what I'll say for the moment.
Unit 5 then goes into mastering teaching somatic movement group lessons.
So yes, the Unit 1, Unit 3, and Unit 5 are very much focused on the group lessons. And this is the one where you'll deepen your understanding. And we'll have lectures here on polyvagal theory and on neuroplasticity and biotensegrity. And you'll learn how to teach new targeted movement lessons. And also you'll reflect on how to create a learning environment for your students and how to hold space for your students and how to the language behind what you speak and how that works. So we'll be really finishing off this piece of how to teach the movement lessons and really master that. And by the way, at the end of the year, you'll have a class that you'll teach that you'll be assessed on, and you'll be coached all the way along in different groups outside of that, and you'll be working on your own teaching lessons. So there's one thing that I can guarantee you is at the end of the 1 year, you'll be competent in teaching somatic movement lessons at a very, very high level. And this has been proven through the curriculum from before. So you can be self-assured that that is a very big skill that you will have. And this Unit 5 is sort of part of completing that skill.
Very useful skill. So thank you. So the Unit 6 then goes into applied clinical somatics.
Yes. So Tom Hanna talked about 3 main reflexes that we sort of get habituated in. One where it's related to when we get some physical trauma and we get an impact to the side and we get into the side bending and rotation, and how to unravel that pattern is one thing which you call the trauma clinical lesson. The other is where we get into this sort of fear and anxiety, where we close the front and the shoulders go up and the head goes forward and we round our back, where we get into this startle response, and that's called the red light reflex, and there's a red light clinical lesson around that. And then the green light is where we're go, go, go. The extensors of the back are very tight, and our lower back is arched, and we're moving forward, and the back muscles are continually tight, which is a clinical lesson how to free that habituation. So this unit is about these 3 reflexes, the clinical lesson around it, the academics around it, and the anatomy around it too, the embodied anatomy around it too, and the spinal anatomy. So this is the main thing of Unit 6. It's applied clinical somatics in relation to these 3 reflexes.
Unit 7, somatic psychology, psyche, soma, spirit, and the subconscious mind.
Yes, this is somatic psychology, and this is the icing on the cake. So what we want to get into here is, what is the root cause of our physical pain from a psychological perspective? For instance, I actually had I've never had back pain in my life. And this summer I was surfing in Morocco, and I was on this big wave, and I'm on a wave ski. So I'm sitting on this thing. It's like a kayak. It was like 6 feet, and boom, I came off this thing, and it was like falling from 6 feet onto your sit bones and this force going up. When I got off that wave, I started to wiggle my toes because I thought I'd broken my back. Anyway, to make a long story short, 6 weeks in this, and I was throwing the kitchen sinks at it. I was like doing all my somatic movements. I was in the sun. I was on the earth. I dry fasted for 4 days. But the thing that the key lesion was not that. The key lesion was the emotional part where I did not feel supported by a certain family member. And I had to travel at that time, and I knew this was an issue, and I resolved that issue somehow. And it sort of cleared that, and lo and behold, the back pain went away. So I feel a lot of pain that we have is just because we're not able to feel the emotional aspect behind it. And when we can actually get into the conflict of the emotional thing, then the pain does not has to be there anymore. So we go into the root cause from a psychological, emotional viewpoint. So that's one part of it. The other part is I'm very passionate about somatic internal family systems. And this is also uncovering these exile that's sort of blocked away because of some traumatic emotional experience that we had in our childhood. So I'm going to teach you the principles around it. Not that you'll be able to fully do this, but you'll get a sense of this, and you'll watch me working this way, and you'll see the principles behind it to unburden the exile of this thought and idea so they'll get liberated. So this unit is very much looking at spirit, looking at emotions, looking at the psyche. And also, in fact, I've got this very beautiful class on it around the eyes and looking for the emotional and psychological aspect of eye problems and actually having a conversation with the eyes in a similar sort of way that we did in this practice that I led you through. And there'll also be a piece on the pineal gland and how to activate the pineal gland and how to draw our future into our presence from an embodied experience, which is a beautiful way of manifesting things in our lives in an authentic way, as far as I'm concerned. And then the last thing we'll do is we'll look at integral yoga. And this is, I live in Pondicherry, and Sri Aurobindo in integral yoga, everything that he speaks of in relation to spirit and health is very much aligned, and embodiment, in fact, is very much aligned with my sort of viewpoint. So we'll pick pieces of his work, and we'll bring that in, and we'll create this somatic think tank around that. And we'll really end with giving appreciation to S capital self, the spirit, the awakened one that is within me and within each and every living being. And that will be the end piece of our training.
Well, what an amazing training. And it's like so obvious. Each unit, each perspective is like really paradigm shifting in how we orient around our body, health, disease, soul, spirits. Really fascinating insights around quantum biology, osteopathy. So it's really, what a great program. So share a few other things about it. So also should mention that this is a program by application. So there's an application to make sure people are really sort of the best fit for the program. It is also intimate. So it's not just, we have limits on the size, so it creates a real sense of intimacy. There's some personal feedback and mentorship that is part of this as well. And so it really gives you a chance to go deep and get a very specific level of mentorship and high touch, high commitment program. It's going to be incredible. So I'll share a little bit more about it. Again, there's more detail at appliedsomatichealing.com, appliedsomatichealing.com. So you're going to get not only the 49 120-minute sessions with Brian, tremendous opportunity to learn, grow. You're also going to get Q&A time, ways to sort of be mentored. There's recordings of every session, video and audio, as well as word-for-word transcripts to work with, study, and highlight. The integration sessions happen during every unit, which are going to be led by Maya. Brian, I want to invite you to share a little bit about this. Well, greetings, everyone, and welcome to a very special online event today. It's called How to Heal Yourself from Toxic and Narcissistic Family Dynamics. Release wounded emotional energy, restore health, reclaim sovereignty, and embrace authentic self-expression. My name is Stephen Dyna. I'm the founder and president of the Shift Network, and I'm really delighted to be with you here, getting to learn right alongside with you from one of the foremost experts in the world on a really important subject, really healing in a deep, lasting way from toxic and narcissistic family dynamics. Her name is Dr. Meg Hayworth. She's a transpersonal psychologist. She's a holistic chef and an author. and has really been helping us to see how, from a very holistic spiritual perspective, how to transform these deeper patterns that we, so many people, have coming into adulthood. So, Dr. Meg, thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor to be a part of this.
Well, we're super excited to learn more, and we're also delighted that you're going to offer a brand new upcoming program called Heal from Toxic and Narcissistic Family Dynamics that we'll share more about later in the hour if people want to go further with you. So, Dr. Meg, let's begin with, I think, your personal backstory. You know, it's always, I find with these kind of subjects, there's always a personal backstory because it's almost like the deeper why of what you're bringing forward into the world is often overcoming your own challenges in this area. So maybe share a little bit about that and what you've learned.
Yeah, for sure. So I grew up with a narcissistic parent in a toxic family system. I also had all kinds of abuse growing up. And I spent a lot of time in my childhood being very sick. On top of that, in my childhood, I also drowned and had a near-death experience, and I was highly intuitive. I was so sensitive and psychic and empathic that I really just took on a lot of the abuse and a lot of the emotions that were coming my way and really took it on as a part of me. And so that led to illness. But it took me many, many years to unwind this. And by the time I was in my 20s, I was in and out of doctors' offices, getting more and more diagnoses, bedridden sometimes for weeks at a time. And I finally started to listen to my intuition. It just happened in a moment where everything just turned for me. And I started to seek a complementary care. And it was in seeking that that everything opened up for me, because then I just started to follow the inner voice that I always had, but my narcissistic parent had really separated me from. And that's one of the things that's a huge problem for those of us who've been through narcissistic abuse, is being separated from your own ability to trust yourself and trust your intuition. And so that became a big part of my life path and what led me to be a teacher. So my path did lead me through first food, to try to get well, eliminating all the foods I was allergic to. But unwinding that further was understanding that I was allergic to those foods because of the emotional impact that my body had taken on from the abuse. And so it was unwinding all of that, understanding that the emotions affect the physical body, have huge impact on us, and they can create illness in the body. And learning about somatic therapies and spiritual development and learning to hone my psychic and intuitive abilities also helped me so much to become who I am today, and to become the teacher that I have become. And I've helped thousands of people over the last 25 years to heal as well from their abuse history and how that's impacted their physical body. And I do it holistically, mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually.
Well, thank you for undertaking this journey of healing and being able to bring it back so much of what you've learned to others and help thousands of others heal. Let's go into the original. I know there's a wide variety of different kinds of abuse people can suffer, but really focusing on the core dynamics that you were mentioning there about it's undermining your own self-authority, your own ability to kind of trust yourself. Maybe to share a little bit about what happens from this kind of deeper vantage point in an abusive or toxic growing up period, and then how that then needs to be addressed in terms of the healing of it.
Yeah, so narcissistic and abuse and toxic family systems, basically, when I say that, what I mean is you were raised by an emotionally immature or emotionally stunted parent who really they weren't equipped to be able to raise you in a way that was supportive and loving and helpful and unconditional. Love was conditional. So when you think about what happens in this kind of family system, emotions are really used as a weapon. It's sort of like emotional warfare. And so these emotions, and the key ones are shame, guilt, because narcissistic abuse, narcissism is a shame-driven disorder. So that parent is not willing to touch their own shame, so they're projecting it onto you. So you get blamed for everything that they're doing or not doing, and things that never even happened because they're just looking for a way to just get rid of it. They don't want to deal with it. They're not going to, and they're not going to take accountability. So everything becomes your fault and the fault of your siblings and your other parent, assuming they're not also narcissistic. And I often see both parents. So these emotions, if you think about it, negative emotions have such a huge charge. And on the scale of consciousness, they've been able to measure emotions and the frequency and vibration of them. And the most dense one is shame. So if you think about what that does to your body over time, how that drains your energy field over time, and eventually your biology can no longer support that energetic drain. And so you start to get sick. Or you have aches and pains or chronic mystery illnesses, symptoms that your doctor's like, there's nothing wrong with you. It's all in your head. It's not. It's all in your energy field. And that's really what I work with, is helping people understand this is an energetic dynamic, and it's an energetic drain from negative emotions that are literally being cast upon you, and then your own reactions on top of that. So it's a big double whammy.
Hmm. I'm struck by your description of the weaponization. So it's like these different things that we take in are like just strategies for somebody who can't see our own good to try to get you to do something for them is sort of what you're implying, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So they have their strategies, their manipulation strategies, and their textbook. There's so many of them. And then you have your own strategies to survive it, to get through it. And a lot of it is an emotional reaction. And there's no place to go with your emotional reaction.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way to work it out. There's nobody to talk to. So you have to, what do you do with it? And that's really what we're talking about today is, how we store that in our bodies, how we try to avoid it, all the different schemes and strategies we come up with to try to deal with all of
Mm-hmm.
it. It's a lot.
So it sounds like the first step is recognizing like how these dynamics got created, and that a lot of the things that we've taken in emotionally were not ours to begin with. It's sort of just passed on from our parents, who probably got it from their parents, and so on. That it's just like, okay, the narcissistic person, wounded growing up, then starts to do the same thing and with their own children. So like, how do you then sort of start to separate out like those things that you took on that really weren't yours from your core self?
Yeah, I think one of the first things you have to do is start to learn what the different roles are in your family system, because the narcissistic parent actually places you in specific roles. And those roles are what determine your place in the family.
Hmm.
And it does that mentally, emotionally, physically, and energetically, especially. So if you look at the energetic bonds between you and your other family members, if you have other siblings, and if you're an only child and you had a narcissistic parent, you're going to be placed in those different roles over and over again in different ways. I think a lot of people may know, oh, yeah, I'm the family scapegoat, so I get blamed for everything. Or, oh, yeah, I'm the golden child, so I was set up to be the performer to make the narcissistic parent feel better. Or I'm the invisible child, so I'm the one who got lost in the shuffle, no one pays attention to. I'm the enabler. So there's these different roles that I think are really important to understand and go deeper into. And when you have that foundation of understanding, like, oh, that's where I was placed. It's not something you did. It's something your narcissistic parent did for specific reasons. So every strategy they used was very manipulative to get you to do what they wanted you to do. And that continues through your life. And these roles, of course, can shift and change based on what you're doing in your life, and how you change as well. So,
Hmm. So it sounds like all the strategies are essentially extensions. You become an extension of their need or strategy. You're
Yes,
not like an individual with your own goals, aspirations, good. You're just an extension of what they want is at the core.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's all the textbooks say that same thing is that a narcissistic parent sees you as an extension of them. You're not your individual sovereign self. And this does a lot of damage to your identity because then I have people coming to me in their 50s and 60s going, I don't even know who I am. I don't have any identity. And that's a huge thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, a huge thing. So that narcissistic parent is like, oh, well, you know, you're an extension of me. You're like an arm or a leg. You're supposed to serve me, and I should be able to make my arm or leg do what I want it to do. That's really how intense it is
Mm-hmm.
to be raised like that.
Mm-hmm. And share a little bit more. So then you obviously can't do anything about this fully when you're a child. You have to come up with
Yeah.
some self-protective strategies. But it sounds like
Yeah.
some people develop higher capacities, intuitions, ability to kind of like access. Probably a lot of more sensitive people actually develop gifts as a strategy to deal with this, it sounds like.
Yeah. And empathic and sensitive people, especially, tend to be more highly intuitive. And that's one of the things that narcissist does. They don't have the empathy, so they're looking to pull energetically on the most empathetic person in the house. And if that's you, you get drained more and more and more.
Hmm. To become
Yeah.
like the empath becomes like the battery fueling the narcissist needs almost.
Absolutely. And you don't know what's happening, because for you it's just normal. This is how our family system is. This is how we do things on a daily basis. So it's you don't notice it. And a lot of people, it's really hard to wake up to, and you wake up to it little by little by little over time.
Hmm. So how do you start to kind of like deprogram your energy field? Since I mean, I know you're both a transpersonal psychologist, but working on the
Yeah.
energetic and spiritual levels too. How do you start to address the levels that are beyond just a conceptual understanding of these dynamics?
Yeah, I like that you said deprogram because that's a big part of what happens is you're programmed with all these different beliefs, not being good enough. And so your energy field, like I was saying, the emotions are such a huge piece of this emotionally driven disorder and how it affects your physical body, how it affects your whole system. And so those energetic drains, that's something that I work with my clients on, is helping them to release the energetic cords that bond you with that parent, that we describe in narcissistic abuse recovery as trauma bonds. But they're so much deeper than the chemical bonds that are going on chemically inside of you. They're that energetic bond.
Hmm.
And I see it as like your narcissistic parent literally plugs into you and pulls on you. And this happens unconsciously on your part. But I think it is conscious on their part in terms of they need to stay up here and they need you down here. So anything that's going to keep you in that place of weakness is what they're going to use to keep you there. But energetically speaking, just think about what that's doing to you, you know?
Hmm. Do you find it's useful to sort of like try to work these dynamics out directly with the parent, or is it most of this is like about creating your own separate energetic field, working through the impact, because usually narcissistic people aren't going to be able to kind of reflect into this?
Excellent question. And the quick answer on that is no, you cannot work this out with your narcissistic parent. It's something you have to learn to work out within yourself
Hmm.
because they would have to, first of all, take accountability for their actions. And part of the disorder is they just can't. It's like a disease of perception. And the way I look at it is they have literally shut love from coming in and shut love from going out. It's like they've just got this wall. And people hearing this, they've been through it will be like, yeah, that's exactly it. And then you will build a wall too to try to protect yourself. And so it's just, lowering these walls is a big, big part of the process.
Hmm. So lowering the walls, but having enough insulation so you're not trying to work it out with the actual parent
Yeah.
directly. And then maybe I think it'd be useful just for people who feel like, well, maybe this was the case with me, but they're not quite sure yet. Like, what are some of the signs that you can see, like the lack of self-responsibility, or some of the things that you can see objectively that, oh, that's the deeper dynamic of what the narcissistic, that this is a narcissistic parent and this is what they were up to.
Yeah, so there are a lot of signs. And I think the key one is a lack of empathy. So they have this inability to put themselves in your place. So they're not thinking of, oh, if I do this, this will impact my daughter or my son this way. They don't think that way at all. So it's all about them. Everything is about them. It's all in service to them. That's another key thing. And that they do this in overt ways and in very subtle ways. So they're often very belittling and shaming. So they put you down also in overt ways and subtle ways. By the way, body language. There's a lot of body language in this, which is energy, right? That energy of, scoffing at you, rolling their eyes at you. So there's a lot of contempt for you, which is just like such a horrible thing when you're just a little kid, and your parent has this contempt for you. And so those are some of the key signs. Also, they won't take accountability. It's everyone else's fault. Everything is. They trip on the sidewalk and it's the sidewalk's fault. So they're not going to say, oh, look, I messed up. So sorry. And that's another thing, is they don't apologize unless it's for a performance to get something they want. And you'll feel that. It doesn't feel genuine. It's not from their hearts.
Mm-hmm. Are there gradations of this? So you're sort of like you're on a spectrum of narcissism, or is it sort of more like you're kind of like the pattern is fully developed, or it's not?
That's another great question. And yes, there is a spectrum of narcissism. The full-blown disorder are those things that I just described, but it's to the full-blown disorders to the point where they literally can't or won't make changes because they don't see themselves as the problem at all. You're the problem. Everyone else is the problem. But there are also narcissistic traits that we also, as ACONs, adult children of narcissists is what I call us, we might have these traits. We might have certain ways that we have learned, behaviors that we've learned that we're repeating. And that's something that's very important to work through, is really looking at, what are some of the things that I do that are very similar to what my narcissistic parent does? And the good news is that if you're able to see those things, that you are empathic and you are sensitive and you're not a narcissist, which is something that I see every single one of my clients will question at some point or another. Am I a narcissist? Am I the problem? Because you become so confused and you believe you are the problem. And you're so used to taking on the blame that this is a part of the process of waking up and part of the process of healing as well.
That's interesting. So questioning whether you're part of the problem is part of the solution because
Yes.
you're getting to the stage of being able to self-reflect about what you've inherited too.
Exactly.
It's really interesting.
Yeah.
You mentioned also working on this on a spiritual level. Like it would be interesting
Yeah.
to sort of go also, from a even wider angle lens, like how are you seeing this as part of like an outworking of soul dynamics too?
Yeah. So, I mean, on the spiritual level, I've come to find that the thing that heals, that does the healing, is the spiritual self. And that's something we're going to be talking about a lot, is that loving self, that most loving part of you, and how that is what brings the healing. That soul self is what brings the healing to the entire self. And that's something that I see is missing in so many different ways of thinking about healing from narcissistic abuse, is the spiritual. And that's why I think the energy system is so important, because it's your chakras, it's your human energy system is your spirit. And that evolution, I think, is really necessary for us to heal, really truly heal from narcissistic abuse, to get to the point where we're not feeling anxious every single day. We're not feeling ashamed and ruminating constantly about, oh, I wish I'd said this or I'd done that. That's a key problem with narcissistic abuse, is like you get exhausted going over things in your head about how you should, oh, I should have done this, I should have done that, and blah, because your narcissistic parent was constantly on you to get you to serve them, and you could never get it right. So
Mm-hmm.
even when they told you, do it this way, and you did it that way. No, I didn't tell you to do it that way. Now they're gaslighting you and lying to you and making you think that you're crazy because you didn't do it. This is the kind of thing, the confusion this is in your field. So I see a lot of people spinning in this confusion.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So yeah. So what are some other sort of things to notice in yourself? There's a little bit of like you get an echo of the pattern and then you're seeing that. Then there's like the self-blame, the spinning. What are the other things that might manifest on the physical level that you talked about before as well?
Yeah, I think one of the things that we need to notice in ourselves the most is emotions and how they're impacting us. And we get kind of disconnected because we're so used to jumping out as a strategy, dissociating as a strategy to survive the experience. And we do this over and over and over again. So we may just feel like we're just not really connected to ourselves. So we get disconnected from our own bodies, and our own bodies are the things that are giving us the clues and the keys to our healing. So those emotions and how we're holding it in our bodies, that's something that is so profound when you start to really notice, like, oh, you know what? Right now, I'm so angry at my narcissistic parent. They just did something so horrible. They said something so awful. And okay, I'm feeling that in my heart. I'm feeling hurt. And so you start making those connections in real time. It starts to really make a difference because then you can start to learn to release those from your field so that those toxic emotions. And believe me, all these emotions are normal. It's normal to have rage towards somebody who has been awful to you. Um, but when you're holding it and spinning in it and stewing in it, this does damage to you. And this
Hmm.
is what I really want you to know is that you can release this energy from your field so that you can feel more steady, more stable. So you're not feeling like you're on this roller coaster all the time that narcissistic parent literally programmed you to be on.
Hmm. Well, I think this releasing things from the field is our energetic field and emotional field is so vital, and I know you've done a lot of work with that. So
Yeah.
I think now would be a great time to give people a little taste of the kind of work you're going to be doing in your upcoming program, and really see how you can take one specific emotion and begin to really release it on all the levels.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So yes, so what I want you to do is I want you to start thinking about, I think we're going to work with anxiety today because it's something that we tend to have a tremendous amount of because we kind of get in this panic mode as adult children of narcissists because we want to make sure we get it done right. We want to do it perfectly. So the striving towards perfectionism and doing it the right way and being the best we can be, we can really push ourselves a lot because we were pushed every day growing up. So if you think about how anxious you can become waiting for the other shoe to drop, walking on eggshells all the time. So just think about something that does make you anxious in your current life. And maybe you just wake up with anxiety every day and you're just like, I don't even know where it's coming from. Everything makes me anxious. So just think about just one thing though. Maybe it's something at work that's going on. Maybe it's something with your significant other or a friend or just something in your life. Just think about that anxious moment, something that makes you feel anxious. And that because whatever it is that's in front is the next layer. And I feel like our soul sends us that next layer, that next emotional layer for us to heal. So if you think of it this way, is your personality is your student, your soul is your teacher, and you're in the school of life, and your soul is teaching you through emotions. So say those emotions are being sent to you as messengers to help you heal. So just think of it that way. So begin thinking of these negative emotions as teaching emotions. And they're here to help you and not hurt you, even though it's been very painful for you. I know it has been. So think about that. Okay. So now think about that moment or this thing going on that's making you feel really anxious. And now I want you to notice, I want you to close your eyes for just a moment and just take a deep breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. I'm going to do another deep breath in, out through the mouth. And then one more deep breath. Just feeling your body relax as you exhale. And feeling that energy, that anxiety you're feeling, and say you're feeling it in your heart, your stomach, wherever you're feeling it, I want you to take your hand and put your hand on it. And just feel that energy. Feel what it's doing physically. Feel the physical sensation in your body. Is it tight? Is it burning? Does it hurt? Just notice. So now you're noticing, oh, this is what anxiety is doing in my body. Okay. Just observe it. And now let's bring in, I want you to call on your loving self, your soul, your higher self, that most brilliant, beautiful self. It might look like an angel, a beam of light, whatever it looks like or feels like to you. I want you to bring that loving self in to whatever it is that you're feeling, that anxiety. And I want you to listen to the anxiety. And it has a message for you. It's been holding something that it needs you to know. It has its own thoughts, feelings, beliefs. It's been holding. What does it need you to know in this moment? Just listen. And now bringing that loving self to it. I want you to imagine that there's this beautiful column of light from up above you. It's coming down around you and coming down around this anxiety that you're feeling in your body. And that thought, that feeling, that belief that's coming up, that whatever that message was that it's holding, just watch as the loving self just takes that up out of your body and up the column of light and off to love school so that your anxiety can learn more about love. And as the anxiety learns more about love, so do you. Just feel that energy. Just feel the release. And now I want you to notice your body. How does it feel now? Does it feel more relaxed? Does it feel a little bit lighter? Any little bit of change is wonderful. Just feel that lightness, that freedom. And now I want you just to imagine a quality that you'd really love to embody. Maybe it's peace. In the face of anxiety, peace is a wonderful thing to bring in. So let's bring that peace into the body. And let's just flood your body with peace, just your whole body and out into your energy field. And we're going to ask that that peace will continue to walk with you and work with you as you move forward in your life. When you feel that energy and you feel ready, I want you just to take a deep breath and gently come back into your awareness. Just take your time, just take a moment. Just gently come back. And now what I want you to do going forward is I want you to, in your meditations, maybe start your meditations this way. So wherever you were feeling that anxiety in your body, put your hand on it and ask peace to flood your whole body all the way through. Maybe even learn about peace. Maybe read some books about peace. Google it, see what comes up, see what messages the universe brings you around peace. for that quality so that you can expand that in your life, because that's what, as narcissistic adult children of narcissistic parents, we want to embody that more and more. As we release the shame, we release the guilt, the anxiety, the rage, the resentment. We want to embody these wonderful qualities.
Hmm. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
beautiful. So it's
thank
almost like you're sort of installing the next level higher quality program where you're on the others on the way out rather than just focusing on the healing or releasing of the old.
Exactly. I think of it as you're releasing an old app. It just doesn't serve you. It doesn't work
Mhm.
anymore. And then you are now installing a new one. And these are all the qualities that all of us want to embody. And I mean, people will come to me and they'll say, I just want to feel peace. Like, okay, well, by the end of the hour, we'll get you there. Um, but yes, but the more you do this kind of release and
Mhm.
replacement, and it's really based on a very simple scientific understanding that we know that emotions can make us sick. And we know this by, I'm worried sick about this, or that person makes me sick to my stomach. We all know that emotions can make us sick, but they can also make us well. And that's what we're doing here, is this emotional wellness and emotional healing.
Mhm. It's also struck that it's like the stance of starting with the emotion as a teacher is sort of like you're not starting with a antagonistic relationship with even the installed emotions. Maybe share a little bit more about that.
Yeah, absolutely. This is such a powerful part of the process. And this really is whole person integration technique that I created to help people do exactly what we're talking about. And so those emotions, they are coming to teach us about who we really are. They're pointing us towards that direction. But like you said, we've seen them as antagonistic. They've been hurting us, and we're wanting to get away from them. We're wanting to push them away. Um, but embracing them, giving them the love they've always wanted, listening to them, and doing it from, I think this is really key, doing it from the place of the observer instead of being caught up in the center of the story is one of the things, and one of the primary reasons why this technique works so well is because you're not in the middle of the story. I watch people in their stories and they're just like, they tense up and they get into fight, flight, or freeze mode, but then they get outside and they're watching the emotion itself and what it's been struggling with and how it's been affecting them holistically. Then they're able to go, oh, well, I see what it's been doing. I don't want that anymore. I'm ready to let that go.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
so it's a really different way of looking at them.
Yeah, it's almost like a little micro version with each thing of kind of healthy reparenting of that particular quality or emotion. That's like, oh, you're sort of like offering a little just a corrective template for the things that got interjected into us.
Yeah, very well put. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. And so it sounds like it's helpful to then do a really deep inventory of what are all the patterns and emotions and all of these things so that each one you can kind of give some care in this way to starting to embrace and then help to release and transmute into the next higher octave.
Absolutely. And i- this creates emotional sovereignty. It creates emotional stability. And that's something that as adult children of narcissists, we do not tend to have. We tend to be still on the roller coaster because the programming has put us in a position where we're now internally beating ourselves up. We're internally putting pressure on ourselves to perform, to do better, to be better, and to never feel good enough
Hmm.
because those programs are just running in us. And those emotions help us clear the program because those emotions are also holding the core negative belief that has been instilled through the programming from the narcissistic parent.
Hmm. I want to ask about the relationship with the parent. So like sometimes I always think it can be helpful to have an understanding that's compassionate, but also is healing. So it's not just kind of indulging in the pattern. What do you find is the most useful kind of spiritual standpoint and psychological standpoint to relate to a still living narcissistic parent so that you're not kind of getting plugged or
Yeah.
repeating the dynamics, but you're also not kind of like, creating a rupture that then isn't helpful to you either?
Great question. And it's not an easy answer because it's a process. So it's a process of you creating your own sovereignty, um, you becoming more empowered in yourself, focusing on you, which is no easy task for an ACON. Adult
Okay.
children of narcissists have a very difficult time focusing on themselves because they have been trained to be other oriented. And so we tend to be people pleasers. We tend to be givers. A lot of us are healers. A lot of us are doing for everyone else. So shifting that to the self is not easy. And you're also in fear of seeming selfish and seeming like the narcissistic parent. Oh, it's all about me, but it has never been. And so this is one of the key things that really needs to happen is to really gain that sovereignty, that emotional sovereignty, and understanding that you are an individual and you get to discover now, you get to discover who you really are. And who you really are is the soul knows all of that. And the soul is going to teach it to you when we open up to releasing these old emotional patterns, these old thought forms, and this old programming.
Hmm. One of the things that's often talked about in kind of spiritual circles is that we all have intentions for why we incarnate with every family. So do you find that's helpful to sort of really do a deeper reflection, like why did my soul choose this particular patterning with this parent? And is that a helpful inquiry at a certain stage of the process, or what do you see?
Yeah, I think it's a helpful inquiry a little further along the road
Hmm.
because you're so used to being blamed for everything.
Yeah,
And
so you
this
don't
is
want
one
to
of,
interpret it in that kind of more debilitating way. Yeah.
yep, exactly. So, the idea that we create our own reality can be really hard for somebody who was raised in a narcissistic, toxic family system because you've been blamed for everything. And so you're so used to taking it on. And so you start to look at you create your own reality as a system of blaming and a system of shaming. Oh, I did that wrong. If I only did this right. So get releasing the blame, the shame, that toxic blame and shame and guilt is going to go a long way to helping you understand that that's not what you create your own reality means at all. But it's not easy to grasp when all this programming is still really prevalent
Mhm.
in your life.
So beware of trying to sort of do that inquiry too early in the process. I
Yeah,
think
I did because I didn't know. And I was
yeah.
just like, what? I was floored by the whole prospect that I did this? No way. I mean, I was actually really angry when I first heard that. But I opened, I opened myself to exploring the possibility
Uh-huh.
and and then, found all the work that I do now. And I was like, oh, okay. So I get it. I get it now, but it's not an easy thing to sink in
Hmm.
when you've been through so much.
I kind of want to ask a little bit more about you're sort of seeing how they're the echo of the pattern. So there's as you're transforming and healing this, then how do you work with the patterning that, it sounds like most children of narcissistic parents are going to have some echoes of that pattern running. How to work with what you see is the sort of inheritance of that as well. It's like, am
Yeah.
I a narcissist? Sort of like noticing that, like, oh, instead of just it's them, that it's like, oh, that actually then tends to repattern a little bit in each of us.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, because am I the problem is also implying the same thing, right?
Right.
You
Yeah.
know, like, oh boy, I got to look at myself again in this regard. I have to take the blame again. Um, but I think this is a different inquiry because it's really being honest with yourself about the ways that you've repeated patterns that aren't even yours
Hmm.
because you're taking on because you were programmed to take on so much of what the narcissistic or toxic parent wanted you to be that you're not quite sure who you really are. And so it's in the discovery of who you are and your own identity, your own qualities, your own sovereignty, your own um, skills, talents, abilities, the things that you came into this world to bring on. And I often say to people, like, well, because they'll be like, well, how do I don't even know what those are. And I'll say, well, when you escaped to your room to get away from your toxic parent, what did you do? So, and I'm going to just interject. This is kind of funny, something I did. I lined up my stuffed animals and I had stuffed animal school. So, and now I'm a teacher, right? And I used to type stories on my mom's computer and now I'm a writer. So, and I would read like constant, I loved reading. And I also was highly mystical and so I was reading all these mystical books. So think about your childhood. What are the things that you escaped in your room to do? Did you draw? Did you leave all that stuff behind? Because you can bring it back out. Because we often do leave it behind because we think, we got so criticized and then we criticize ourselves.
Hmm.
And so we think we're not good enough. I can't show my art to anybody. Just so many things. But it's again healing those beliefs and those emotions associated with those beliefs, those thoughts, feelings, beliefs, and emotions, how they lodge in our bodies that helps us to really overcome all of that so that we can embrace who we were meant to be.
Mm. I love seeing the coping strategies, early coping strategies as clues to the gifts that are waiting to be given. Do you want to say anything more about just other gifts that you see as people really go in a very thorough way in this holistic approach, like some of the gifts that emerge of going through this journey of working out the wounds of with a narcissistic parent or toxic parent?
Yeah, I think that creativity is what really comes to mind first. It really opens your creativity, which also opens up your intuition and your ability to know and trust yourself. Because all of those things are connected, and the more that you develop your intuition, which is something that is something that's a big part of what I teach, it helps you uh, to just create a better life for yourself. It helps you to really get in touch with who you always were, but who you got completely disconnected from because you were really literally treated like an object by your parent, as a servant, somebody who's supposed to serve them. And it's just, you know, getting back to you is fun, though. It's amazing. And it's really powerful work,
Hmm.
or I should
Well,
say powerful play.
powerful play. Well, I
Yeah.
think this is a great moment to talk a little bit more about your upcoming course, which is really a great opportunity to go deeper into this. It's obvious that it takes a while to work through all these patterns, and you need to have good practices. And I really appreciate the depth of your understanding psychologically, spiritually, energetically. And I haven't seen that kind of unique combination of those elements elsewhere. So I think it's really an amazing opportunity for people who recognize their own life path, put them on this trajectory of healing and transforming the wounds from toxic and narcissistic parenting, and to really get a chance to learn from you and have great practices to do so. So let's talk about that. So we're really blessed that Dr. Meg has agreed to teach a brand new program for Shift. It's called Heal from Toxic and Narcissistic Family Dynamics. Reprogram wounded emotional energy to restore health, reclaim sovereignty, and express yourself authentically, which all of which is very resonant with everything you've shared here today. So this is really a chance to go much deeper and make the changes real. So Dr. Meg, I'd love for you to share, first of all, some of your intentions about what people will come away with from the program and how it can really positively benefit their lives. And then I'll read out the module titles so you can give us a preview of what's coming in each.
Yeah, so my intentions for people who take the course is I'd really love for you to walk away feeling so much more solid in yourself than you've ever felt, to understand more deeply the energetic bonds in the family system, and also to help you release that. I want you to feel a deeper sense, you will feel a deeper sense of self-trust. You're going to feel a deeper sense of self-expression and being more connected to who you really are and who you were meant to be. But also you're going to understand this connection to your physical body and given methods to help you actually heal that, methods that can help you heal symptoms. I mean, I've seen things disappear overnight, symptoms that have been long-standing with people because they got to the emotional root cause of why they were sick in the first place, and of, pain and other things going on in your body. So my intention is for you to really feel more whole than you have felt in your life after understanding, after developing your intuition more deeply, and after coming together with other people that are going through the same thing, because that support is so necessary, because unless you've been through narcissistic abuse, you don't really truly understand the impact of it on the holistic level, mental, emotional, physical, and energetic and spiritual.
Beautiful. So module 1 is claim your sovereignty by understanding toxic family dynamics.
Yeah, so in this first module, we're going to look at the energetic dynamics in your family. I talked a little bit earlier about the different roles that the narcissistic parent places you in, but how does that affect you within the family system and energetically, so that you're seeing those bonds between the different people in your family? So like, if you're the invisible child, how does the golden child affect you energetically? And so on. So you'll see a much deeper understanding of that, and it's going to lay the foundation for the whole rest of the course.
Module 2, reclaim your power by releasing toxic energy connections.
Yeah, so now we talked about in the first module all of these energetic dynamics that are going on. And now in the second one, what we're going to do is we're going to help you to release some of that energy dynamic. Some of the core things that I see in client after client is especially the energy in the solar plexus, your center of personal power. We're going to help you to release that energy so that you can feel more you. So that's a really empowering thing.
Module 3, unite your inner child, adult self, and loving self for deep healing.
You can't leave your inner child out of the process of healing from narcissistic abuse and toxic family system, because she or he went through so much. This is the part of you that's so confused, the part of you that took on the programs, that truly believed that your own parent was right. And so doing the healing to help you understand that she or he needs to be released from where they've been stuck, and that so many inner child programs will have you have the adult do the healing, doing the loving, and that's really important, but your adult is wounded too. She's got her own patterns. So the loving self, that's the part that does the true healing. And so we're going to bring those three parts, which happen to also be connected to your energy system, to the second and third and fourth chakras. And we're going to bring those energies together so that you can see how powerful you can be when those energies are united on your behalf.
Module 4, transform your health by understanding the energetic impact of emotional abuse.
Okay, so this is where you're going to start to really learn about much more deeply about how narcissistic abuse has impacted your physical body, and how it may have led to illness in your life, or maybe you have recurring illnesses or persistent symptoms. You may think, well, I'm pretty healthy, but as you start to unwind it, you'll be like, oh, you know what, I've been kind of ignoring my body quite a bit. So this gets you into your body so that you can heal more deeply in the physical realm.
Module 5, release unworthiness to embrace your true self.
Okay, so this is where we use whole person integration technique, because the last module we really set you up with understanding what's going on in your body. And in this one, we're going to release unworthiness. So we're going to use whole person integration technique to release that.
Great. Module 6, master emotional energy for greater intuition and self-trust.
So we're going to be doing intuitive development in this. And in this intuitive development, there's a very specific method that I was taught 30 years ago that has kept me energized after sessions. I don't get drained around other people. I don't get drained empathically. And this is something I want to pass on to you, is something that will help you with empathic overload so that you can become that emotional master that you were really meant to be, so that you become more stable and steady instead of feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm on this roller coaster that the narcissistic parent really put you on.
And finally, Module 7, step into your power and build your energetic life of freedom.
Yeah, so this one is we're going to pull everything together from the last 7 weeks and we're going to declare your independence. And we're going to do some exercises together, including an initiation that will help you move into the next level of your life. And it's going to feel so empowering, and it's going to be really special.
Great. Well, what a great program. So practical, so helpful, and I love the integrative, multidimensional approach, which really brings in the energy and spiritual dimensions of this, which is so vital for the real healing. So again, you can see the whole program laid out in detail at healtoxicfamilywounds.com, healtoxicfamilywounds.com. It's, as we said, it's a 7-week program. You're going to have those 7 live sessions with Dr. Meg. And then you're going to also get a chance to ask your questions live. You'll get recordings of every session, both video and audio, as well as word-for-word transcripts, which are super helpful to go back and study and highlight. There's weekly exercises for home. There's practices you'll receive. There's a Facebook community to support you and really create an empathetic community in your journey to support you as well. And you also have some small group time to connect with other participants. And on the page at healtoxicfamilywounds.com, healtoxicfamilywounds.com, you're also going to see a number of extra bonuses that have been created to enhance your journey with Dr. Meg. There's an audio called an emotional and energetic healing meditation for ACONs. Dr. Meg, you want to share more about that audio?
Yeah, so this meditation, we're going to go chakra by chakra, helping you to release shame and guilt, and helping you to replace that energy. So it's a really powerful meditation that's going to make you feel so much more you, so much more empowered.
Hmm. There's also a second bonus. It's a video from Dr. Meg called Empowered Eating for Abuse Survivors. You alluded to this a little bit earlier, but you've done a particular deep dive into this area. You want to share a little bit more about what you're teaching people there?
Yeah, so I was a holistic chef, private chef in Hollywood for many years. And so this particular bonus is something that's going to really help you understand the connection between healing from narcissistic abuse and also healing the body. So I talk a lot about energy and vibration of food and how that is so important to support your body through the process of your emotional healing process. So it's another holistic piece where you get something that will help to nourish and assist your body to heal.
Great. And then I also want to say there's one extra bonus. It's a really particularly juicy one for anyone who signs up by midnight tonight Pacific time. We'd like to do this as a way to really encourage you to take the time now to go through the page, really tune in with your own knowing. And if you get the sense to move forward today, then you got an extra bonus for doing so. It's a video from Dr. Meg called 10 Ways to Heal from Your Narcissistic or Toxic Parent. Dr. Meg, you want to share about that special video?
Yeah, so this video was so fun to make and put together for you because it really covers the holistic gamut, mental, emotional, physical, energetic, and spiritual. Very specific ways, actionable steps that you can take right now so that you can heal, begin to heal, or heal from whatever level you are at right now. Continue your healing process, because one thing that I found is so critical in healing from narcissistic abuse is it is a holistic process. And if you leave any part of that holistic system out, you're not going to get the full and complete healing. So again, mental, emotional, physical, energetic, and spiritual, all of that's covered in this great video.
Great. Well, I really appreciate the holistic approach, and I know that the results are so much better when you do that. So it's
Yeah.
really going to be such a valuable program for everyone who chooses to move forward. We've kept the investment very accessible for this. It's just 3 payments of $128, or you save 10% when you pay in full with one payment of $349. The course is going to start January 22nd and run Wednesdays at 5 Pacific, 8 Eastern. But even if you can't make the live times, you can still get the full value with the recordings, the transcripts, and the community as well. Great testimonials on the page. You're really in great hands with Dr. Meg. She really knows this terrain. She's been at the forefront, and she's really helped thousands of people to heal in a holistic way. So again, it's all the details are at healtoxicfamilywounds.com, healtoxicfamilywounds.com. And you'll get that special bonus if you choose to sign up today of 10 ways to heal from your narcissistic or toxic parent. So, Dr. Meg, it's been a pleasure to be with you. Really so insightful and really love your approach. So, anything that's still on your heart you want to share with folks who are considering doing the full course with you?
Yeah, so, going through narcissistic abuse from your own parent is it's tragic, really. When you realize that you're divided from your true self intentionally, and you have to kind of struggle to find out what that is, and to know that you've been programmed with all of these beliefs that aren't yours. I often will say, ACONs, adult children of narcissists, we've been conned into believing so many things about ourselves that aren't true, and that this is your chance to become an icon in your own life. And an icon is somebody who's independent, confident, original, and naturally you. We need you. If you're an empath and a sensitive, the world needs you now more than ever. And if narcissistic abuse or toxic parenting is in your past, the more you can heal that now, the better off our whole world is going to be. So I really hope that you can join us for this. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be very insightful, and there's going to be a lot of great healing in store for you.
I am sure that you the deep truth in everything you just shared. So, if you're looking for healing of these patterns, I think Dr. Meg is just going to be an incredible ally for you to go through this in a systematic way. So thank you, Dr. Meg, for your wisdom and also your journey through having to do your own healing to get to where you can harvest all this gold for other people and really help others liberate themselves. So thank you for that, and thank you for your time today. And for all you who joined us, thank you for your time. And if you want to go further, we would love to include you in Dr. Meg's new program. And again, the whole URL for all the details is at healtoxicfamilywounds.com. Thank you so much. Many blessings.
You're welcome. Thank you.